I got the moves. I got the moves. I'm making moves. You gotta move. You gotta make the city move. Like, whoa. I make the city move. I got the move.
Russell Westbrook has had some interesting seasons the last couple years. In 2017, he was arguably the best point guard in the league, and there were comparisons and debates between him and Steph and Curry over who was the better player. Just 2 years later in 2019, however, Westbrook became one of the most hated players in the league, and fans continuously hated on his inefficiency, selfish play, and lack of playoff success. Then, this season came around, and Westbrook proved everyone wrong by having one of his best seasons since his MVP season, as well as perfectly fitting into Houston's system, something a lot of people doubted would happen. So how good is Russell Westbrook actually? It's been a few confusing years, and no one really fully knows how good Westbrook is. The rankings are very inconsistent. So, in today's video, I'm going to discuss Russell Westbrook's last few seasons and debate where he ranks as a point guard in today's NBA, as well as telling you all where I believe he ranks overall in the entire NBA. If you're new here and enjoy the video, please be sure to subscribe for more NBA content like this. I'm trying to hit 8,000 subscribers by June, so all support is greatly appreciated. But with that all being said, let's talk about Russell Westbrook.
Lucas.
As I mentioned, Russell Westbrook's last few seasons have been quite interesting. In 2017, he won MVP after Kevin Durant left and led a lackluster OKC team to the 6th seed in the West. There is still some criticisms towards that MVP, with people suggesting Westbrook stat padded to get his average of a triple-double, but at the time, averaging a triple-double was insane no matter what. Many thought it was something that would never happen again ever since Oscar Robertson did it, so you have to give credit where credit is due. OKC realized the lack of help at the end of the 2017 season and brought in two All-Stars in Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to create a big three. This big three would struggle though, and they ended up being all knocked out in the first round of the 2018 playoffs by a rookie Donovan Mitchell-led Utah Jazz. This is probably where the hatred for Westbrook peaked, and it probably didn't help either that he got knocked out the next year on a game winner by Damian Lillard, someone who he had constantly trash-talked throughout the series. This leaves us with where we are today, as up until the season was suspended, Westbrook's stats for the 2020 season were 27.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per night. Westbrook did struggle out the gate in Houston, and it wasn't until around January when he really began to shine. However, there was a major turning point for Westbrook when Capella was traded, as it allowed him to back down opposing players in the post and not have to worry about his awful three-point shot. On Houston, Westbrook's three-point attempt rate has dropped dramatically, and this has overall benefited his game, reasserting him, at least in my eyes, back into the top 4 or 5 point guard conversation. But where does he actually rank? Who is he better than? Firstly, let's look at the point guard debate. I think Steph Curry is obviously the best guard in the league by quite a distance, and though this was a debate a couple seasons ago, it no longer is, even with Curry's injured season this year. Damian Lillard is also another player I believe is better than Russ with little debate. He clearly proved his dominance over him last season in the playoffs. That pretty much signified him being better than him to me and ended that debate for sure. He simply outplayed him in that series. The final point guard I believe is undoubtedly better than Westbrook is Luka Doncic. I know some of you may not classify him as a true point guard, some see him as a shooting guard, but I'm going to classify him as a point guard. From Doncic's MVP caliber season this year, I do have him ranked above Westbrook without much debate in my eyes. Also, I'm not classifying LeBron James as a point guard here, because though he did technically play that position this season, this debate is not entirely centered around just this season's performances, it's just in general and kind of based over the last few years, which is why Curry is on this list. With that being said though, let's get right into the real debate as from here on out, it is a bit harder to decipher where Westbrook ranks, and this is where most of the confusion and inconsistency comes in. Now before we get into who Westbrook is somewhat even with, who is he clearly better than? I think Westbrook is levels above guys like Jamal Murray and Mike Conley, and I don't think it's disrespectful at all to put him above guys like Kyle Lowry and Kemba Walker. These guys are great in their own right, they are all-stars, but I don't think it's bad to say Westbrook is clearly better than them. Now we can finally start the debate. The first player I want to compare Westbrook to is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons had a solid year this year, averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Simmons was absolutely phenomenal in some stretches this season, particularly when Joel Embiid was out, but unfortunately overall, we didn't really see too much improvement from Ben Simmons. His jump shot is still virtually non-existent, and he plateaued stats-wise. And what makes matters worse is that the 76ers were one of the most disappointing teams for the season. Based off of stats, Westbrook is clearly superior, and though the Rockets did slump just before the season got cancelled, they were generally a top 4 team in the West, so I'm gonna have to give this one to Russell Westbrook. I won't be too harsh on Simmons here, as his struggles and lack of improvement really weren't his fault all too much. The 76ers current system is just not built for him, but Westbrook has to take the cake in this one. The next player where it's a close debate is between Westbrook and Chris Paul. Before this season started, Chris Paul was seen as washed up and overpaid, but that has now changed after he turned OKC into a playoff team from one that looked destined to be at the top of the lottery. Chris Paul's stats aren't amazing, they don't blow you away, but his leadership on the court and his off the court impact goes a longer way than it seems. This is why it's hard to choose who's better here, Westbrook or CP3. Whilst Russ kills Paul in most stats, Russ is inefficient and CP3 is a much better leader and makes more of an impact arguably. To me though, I'm gonna have to give this one to Westbrook. The reason why is due to Westbrook's fantastic season this year on Houston. When Paul and Westbrook were traded for each other about 9 months ago, everyone clowned Houston for the move, except for a couple people to be fair. No one thought a duo of Harden and Russ would work at all, but Westbrook has proved everyone wrong this season and has excelled in the Rockets small ball analytics system. A quick look at the standings may prove otherwise, but if you actually watch Houston's games, you know how positive Westbrook has been for the Rockets this season. In my eyes, Westbrook is a better fit in Houston than CP3 ever was. So yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Russell Westbrook. It's my opinion, but Westbrook is better than Chris Paul right now. And the final player I want to compare Russ to before we look at his ranking in the entire NBA is Kyrie Irving. This to me is the most interesting comparison, as both players are very even to me. Kyrie was injured for the majority of this season, only playing 20 games, but when he did play, he was playing at a career high level. Kyrie averaged 27.4 points per game this season with 5 rebounds and 6 assists, and shot ridiculously well, 47% from the field and close to 40% from 3. However, with this being said though, I'm actually going to place Westbrook above Kyrie here. I just want to make it clear though, this is a very close comparison. It's pretty much a tie between them in my eyes. It's really hard to split them apart. But for me, since Westbrook averaged the same amount of points as Kyrie basically this season, but played over 30 more games and averaged more assists and rebounds also, I think he's better right now. Apart from his 3-point percentage, Westbrook shot similarly to Kyrie Irving overall, and the Rockets did have a better record, but I'm not going to blame Kyrie too much for Brooklyn's mediocre season. Westbrook's also a far better leader than Kyrie, so again, I'm actually going to give this one to Westbrook. If Kyrie had played most of the season and continued to average these numbers, I think it would be a lot closer, and I think also the majority of you guys would say Kyrie is better. I too would probably say that also. But again, due to Westbrook's amazing season on Houston this year, I'd have to say he's better than Kyrie. Also due to Irving's infamous years in Boston, as well as he only has a small sample size in Brooklyn. It's a very close one here, and if Kyrie has a great season next year with KD, I wouldn't be surprised if he overtakes Westbrook again. Even if you have him over Russ right now, I wouldn't be mad at all. But in my opinion, I have Westbrook as the better player right now over Kyrie Irving. And finally, where does Russell Westbrook rank in the entire NBA? To me, he sits just outside the top 10 in the 10 to 15 area. Russ is obviously not as good as guys like Giannis, Kawhi, LeBron, etc. But he's better than the younger players like Tatum, Siakam, etc. Guys in the 15 to 20 ranks. He's an elite level second option and a great first option to have on your team, and whilst I don't think there's 15 or 20 players better than him, I can definitely name a good 8, 9 or 10 that are. So that's why I have him in that area. So overall, these are my thoughts on Russell Westbrook and where he ranks as a player in today's NBA, in my opinion. He's not as good as the Currys, the Lillards and Doncic's of the world for sure, and there is some debate for guys like Simmons, Kyrie Irving and Chris Paul being better than him. However, in my eyes, he's slightly better than all of them, which is why I have him as the 4th best point guard in today's NBA, or at the very least, top 5. I can see a case for Kyrie Irving being better than him, so don't kill me in the comments and dislike, but I think it's fair to say Westbrook has risen back up the ranks in Houston to put himself back into the top 5 conversation. Whether he stays there much longer is a question at hand, with guys like Ja Morant coming up the ranks also, and injured stars like Irving and Curry returning soon. All I can say is, as of the 3rd of May 2020, Russell Westbrook is a top 15 player in the NBA, and without a doubt, a top 5 point guard. That is how good Russell Westbrook is, exactly. And that will conclude the video. What do you guys think of this? How good is Russell Westbrook to you? Is he a top 10 player in the NBA? And is he a top 3 point guard to you? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop it a like and subscribe. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.
Used to hoop in your Converse so comfortably. Knew one day I'd be good and you'd come for me. Didn't know it would make me this hungry. Looking at your judgment and everyone's wondering. Ride the heat to Windy City, did you see the damn coat? Saw you in the hallway, you say young and put on a show. Didn't know that's the code, pray you're about to